done with Johnny.
Next time on Fear Factor House of Fear. Welcome to the semifinals.
So I've asked you, is there anyone else who would keep safe besides me? And you said no. Because I don't like cheaters, I don't like liars. I can't trust him. Not happy about it.
Guess what? You get electrocuted.
Oh, PTSD.
2 of you will go home.
Oh. My ability might not be enough in this game. This is the most vulnerable I've ever been.
H3! Ah! Oh, tell us what's wrong!
Now, your primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
The Washington County Grand Jury has indicted 2 people for sex trafficking and 1 person for manslaughter. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. Valerie Haskins and Ryan McCauley were arrested in Cutler between January 2nd and January 6th. Both were indicted on charges of aggravated sex trafficking and conspiracy to commit. Haskins was also indicted for sexual abuse of a minor and assault. Court records on those cases have been sealed. A Bangor man has been indicted for manslaughter in connection with a Washington County crash that killed 1 person and injured 3 others. Police say a Hancock County Sheriff's deputy saw a vehicle with a mechanical defect driven by 22-year-old James Nile going above the posted speed on Route 9 in Aurora. They say the deputy tried to stop the car and it came to a brief stop before Nile allegedly accelerated and fled. That's when a chase began that went through several towns. The vehicle eventually crashed in Wesley. 39-year-old John Branscombe of Bangor died from his injuries. 3 other occupants fled on foot. They were all apprehended and given medical attention. Nile was also indicted for eluding an officer, causing death while license is suspended or revoked, and driving to endanger. Maine State Police are investigating a crash on Interstate 95 in Waterville early this morning. State Police spokesperson Shannon Moss says a little after 5:30, a vehicle driven by 41-year-old Raymond Fenderson of Brunswick was merging onto I-95 northbound and collided with a motorist who was traveling northbound. Moss says Fenderson's vehicle crashed head-on into the guardrail on the median side and he became trapped inside. Emergency crews did eventually free him. The passing lane was shut down during the duration of that time. According to Moss, Fenderson sustained serious but non-life-threatening injuries. She says the preliminary investigation indicates impairment is a likely factor and that crash remains under investigation. Meanwhile, multiple people were arrested Tuesday in Somerset County following a months-long investigation into alleged drug activity at a residence there. The Somerset County Sheriff's Office says around 5:40 Tuesday morning, their criminal division executed a drug search warrant at the residence of William Allen, located on the Ward Hill Road in Norridgewock. According to the Sheriff's Office, during the search of that residence, approximately 170 grams of fentanyl and cocaine, over 200 controlled pills, more than $6,000 in suspected drug proceeds, digital scales, illegal drug-related documentation, and illegal drug-related paraphernalia were all seized. Arrested in the search were 34-year-old Ariel Hernandez Batista of Lawrence, Massachusetts, and 28-year-old Louis Mate of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Both are being held without bail and are on federal retainers for allegedly being in the country illegally. They're charged with aggravated drug trafficking. 44-year-old Luke Sylvia of Skowhegan was arrested and also charged with aggravated drug trafficking. 40-year-old Randall Woods of Madison was arrested and charged with drug possession. 50-year-old Denise Weber of Norridgewock and 46-year-old Jeremy Ross of Anson were arrested on outstanding warrants. Well, Down East OBGYN is closing this summer. The owner confirmed that Bangor's only private full-service OBGYN practice will be ceasing operations this summer due to staffing challenges. While efforts are underway to ensure uninterrupted patient care, the situation highlights the ongoing challenges of accessing obstetric services in our state. Our Grace Blanchard has more.
It's another loss for Maine healthcare. Patients of Downey's OBGYN in Bangor recently learned the practice would be closing this July, with the owner, Dr. Christopher Rumsey, citing a lack of physicians. He declined our request for an interview, but announced last week he will be joining Women's Healthcare of Maine at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center.
Downey's OBGYN physicians did all their deliveries here at East Germain Medical Center already, so their patients are familiar with our space and our team here.
Hospital leadership believes their pre-existing relationship with the practice will ensure continuity of care for patients.
They will be able to see their physician, have their deliveries, have their surgical procedures all at one location.
The closure of Downey's OBGYN is consistent with a growing trend happening across Maine and nationally.
Rural areas throughout the country are struggling to keep practices and inpatient labor and delivery units open, and we're no exception.
In 2025 alone, Maine lost 4 labor and delivery units, which includes the closure of Northern Light Inland Hospital in Waterville. According to Collins, hospitals and practices are struggling due to a perfect storm of staffing shortages, declining birth rates, and increasing costs.
So these challenges are really mounting, and this is why you're seeing some of the closures.
Collins notes that many of EMMC's 1,600 annual births originate from Downey's OBGYN, so she does not anticipate this will put additional strain on the women's health team.
We're growing our program. We think it's an opportunity, but more importantly, an obligation of ours, a commitment of ours, a part of our mission to make sure that we're here for women across the state.
In Bangor, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The Maine Commission on Public Defense Services provides state-funded legal counsel and representation to Mainers that need it. However, that mission could be in jeopardy as their executive director announced today that they've run out of funding. Our Callie Warren has details.
There's nothing that we could do that would be more damaging than not pay the vast majority of our attorneys, which is what we are doing as of today.
The Public Defense Services Commission, or PDS, officially has no funding left to pay their attorneys. Attorneys that must be provided to Mainers that need them as outlined in the Constitution. They have around 400 total lawyers who took on nearly 30,000 new cases last year alone.
This really impacts everybody in Maine. It's not just the lawyers.
This comes after PDS dealt with a legal counsel shortage that triggered a lawsuit. PDS was sued by the ACLU of Maine for not providing attorneys in a timely manner. Tarpinian says staffing was so strained that nobody was available for those cases. And now some lawyers are stepping back from new caseloads.
We know some folks are stepping back. They've already told us they're stepping back. I'm worried that now more are going to step back.
Attorneys were notified that they will receive their final paychecks for this fiscal year on March 23rd and likely will not be paid again until July. PDS is urging the Maine legislature to pass LD 2059, an emergency funding measure to fix the situation and fund the state-appointed legal counsel that Mainers are entitled to.
You know, their student loans are not waiting and their mortgages are not waiting, and their kids still have to eat.
Tarpinian says the issue will cause a ripple effect, as many cases require public or state-appointed defense due to a client's inability to pay.
As soon as those cases are filed, they're being filed right now, so people are being arrested right now.
If more lawyers step back, clients can be left waiting, often behind bars.
Or if somebody takes your brother's kids away, that person needs a lawyer immediately. And the pain continues from there. People who sit in jail longer because they're waiting for lawyers, that costs taxpayers a lot of money.
Callie Warren reporting for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Police were dispatched to a school board meeting in Newport last night after officials say public comment got out of hand. Our Alex Schley has more.
The public comment portion of an RSU 19 school board meeting was abruptly ended Tuesday night after an incident that required police to get involved. During public comment, several attendees addressed an incident that allegedly happened earlier this year, involving a student's disciplinary action.
Another student later said they overheard her say, "It's sad that our school is under investigation because people can pick their own gender." Was later pulled into the office where he admitted that he had been talking about the investigation. After that, he was given 3 days in school suspension.
Several attendees expressed concern about how the incident was handled by school officials.
This is such classic viewpoint discrimination that it's ridiculous. Someone, we used to call them narcs when we were kids, tattletales, overheard something they heard about two people having a private conversation.
In response, an 8th grade student who said she witnessed the incident spoke about her experience.
This loudly and disrespectfully behind the student And I was there, so I am a witness to this. He did do this purposefully, and he definitely intended to cause a reaction.
The response to the students' comments quickly escalated. Newport Police Chief David Wintle confirmed officers were dispatched to the meeting in response to the escalation.
I think an officer was going to drop by just to check it out. We do that occasionally, but we don't normally respond to school board meetings.
Wintle says police have since opened an investigation into what happened during the meeting.
We just received a complaint of an alleged assault happening at the school board meeting.
Newport Police declined to provide any additional comment about Thursday's incident or the ongoing investigation. In Newport, Alex Live for ABC 7, Fox 22.
And folks, we'll pause now and take a first look at our forecast.
Thank you, Beth. Our highs reaching to the low 40s here in Bangor for today, and that helped us out a ton. That kept our precipitation today mainly as rain, as there was a freezing rain threat just north of town, where temperatures close to the freezing in Millinocket and right at it in Presque Isle this afternoon. Still got some winter weather advisories out there just north of town. This will expire within the hour, and that winter storm warning looking to expire a few hours after that. Right around 2 a.m. overnight is when we'll see that winter storm warning begin to expire in the northern tier of the state. Still some more rain to come overnight into tomorrow morning. Here's right around 5 to 6 a.m. Plenty of rain as temperatures are warming up, but then the cold front hits will cool down throughout the day, while rain showers can still continue on the eastern side of the state. So taking a look overnight tonight, plenty of rain showers still in the area as temperatures slowly warm up into the low to mid 50s for tomorrow morning.
Chase, thank you. Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, our Doug Banks takes a look at the latest from the Live Nation antitrust lawsuit and its impact here at home. And our Alexa Kennedy was in Orono to highlight a waste reduction initiative by the University of Maine. We'll have those stories and more local news when we come back.
Chevy trucks are as capable and dependable as the Chevy people who drive them. You probably know one. Your sister. Your buddy. The ones who always show up. They all have that little extra something. And maybe you got it too.
It's Chevy Truck Month. Right now, get over $7,300 total value on this 2026 Chevy Silverado. Plus, Costco Executive members can get a $12.50 members-only incentive.
There are so many fun things to do in Maine. Now you can enjoy more for less. Check out half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Little Miss Davis Sweets and Treats, a home-based business that specializes in homemade baked goods. Everything I bake is made to order. I specialize in baking homemade fudge, brownies, cupcakes, giant cookies, and large gingerbread men.
There's a limited supply available. It's on sale right now. Save with half-off deals from foxbangor.com. There are so many fun things to do in Maine. Now you can enjoy more for less. Check out half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Come to the Beer Garden in Skowhegan, where classic German dishes meet Maine flavor. A place for friends and family to unwind and enjoy live music along the Kennebec with 16 taps, wine, and cocktails. There's something for everyone. The Beer Garden. Eat well, drink well, and gather often.
There's a limited supply available. It's on sale right now. Save with half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Maine's rivers, our lakes, our life-giving wells. To ensure that our water supply remains clean and safe, Senator Susan Collins is leading the fight to protect this vital resource. She delivered millions to upgrade Maine's drinking water and wastewater infrastructure, keeping the quality of water as precious as Maine itself. So raise a glass and thank Senator Susan Collins for her leadership that goes beyond politics.
Welcome back. The Justice Department and entertainment company Live Nation settled its antitrust lawsuit, but how does it affect Bangor's amphitheater? Our Doug Banks explains.
The Department of Justice on Monday reached a tentative settlement in its antitrust lawsuit against Live Nation, an entertainment giant that includes Ticketmaster. The lawsuit accused Live Nation of operating an illegal monopoly within the concert business, including pressuring artists and venues into using its services while driving up ticket prices. In a 7-page term sheet obtained by ABC 7 and Fox 22, it outlines how Live Nation must now pay up to $280 million in damages to the states in the lawsuit. Maine is not included. Now, where Maine Savings Amphitheater comes into play in this settlement is in the section titled Divestiture of Venues, where it states Live Nation will divest ownership and or control of the concert venues identified in Appendix A. Upon divestiture, these concert venues will conduct a new ticketing request for proposal.
Live Nation doesn't own the venue, doesn't operate the venue, but we do have a ticketing agreement with Ticketmaster, and I would assume at this point, based on that agreement, we are not bound by the terms of that agreement, provided that this sticks.
A City of Bangor spokesperson clarified it isn't an exclusive agreement. They also said that the City of Bangor owns the land beneath the venue and is in a long-term lease agreement with Waterfront Concerts, who owns and operates the amphitheater. Waterfront Concerts' Alex Gray told us on Wednesday that the settlement puts the venue's operations in zero jeopardy.
If you're talking merely about this facility, nothing changes.
The only changes that could occur would be from the ticketing standpoint. Gray says they're in the last year of its agreement with Ticketmaster, and the bulk of their shows for this year are already on sale. That agreement went out for bid in January, and currently 3 companies are in competition for that contract.
When I bid this contract last, there was probably 1 company that could do it, Ticketmaster. Now there's probably 3 companies that can do it.
Live Nation and Ticketmaster did not respond to our request for comment. In Bangor, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The University of Maine School of Law has announced the receipt of its largest single philanthropic gift ever. The $500,000 gift was made by the estate of Dr. Edward David, who was a Maine Law alumnus. David was born in New York City and attended summer camp in the Sebago Lake region as a kid. He studied medicine and in 1972 moved to Bangor to join a neurology practice. He later went on to work as a medical examiner in the state. He started at Maine Law when he was 44 and graduated in 1987. Today, Maine Law praised Dr. David's lifetime of service. It said the gift will allow the school to invest in scholarships, strengthen various programs, and advance initiatives that foster growth in the school. The school called the new funding transformational and said it was a, quote, milestone moment for their community. A pilot program aimed at reducing plastic waste was launched at one of its participating establishments in Bar Harbor. Researchers and participants hope to see the program adopted across the state. Our Alexa Kennedy has more.
A new reusable food and beverage packaging pilot project called Reuse Me launched at the Coffee Matters Cafe in Bar Harbor. Researchers with the University of Maine partnered with businesses across 3 coastal Maine communities to explore the potential for reusable packing. Customers at these locations have the option to have their food or beverage packaged in returnable stainless steel containers. The program aims to reduce plastic waste, prevent pollution, and save communities money on the purchase and disposal of single-use packaging.
Research project was basically focused on keeping plastic out of the ocean because so many of the takeout containers traditionally are made out of plastics. If they're not, they may be plastic coated. And a lot of that doesn't get recycled and ends up in landfill.
Mainers can engage with Reuse Me by signing up online at participating locations. You'll get a free stainless steel container, which can be returned to any participating business in exchange for a new one. The program also has the potential to save Bar Harbor taxpayers money. According to the Zero Waste MDI Committee, the town pays $2.5 million annually for waste transportation, 12% of which was from single-use plastic.
A lot of the people that come here are super excited about it. We need people to be advocates for it in order for people to get involved.
Chen says the UMaine research team will follow the success of these businesses. Both Chen and Marcial hope to see Reuse Me expand as a common practice among businesses across the state. In Bar Harbor, Alexa Kennedy, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, the president's top military advisors are considering using U.S. Navy ships to escort commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. And International Energy Agency plans to release 400 million barrels of oil from emergency reserves to counter price spikes tied to the Iran war. Those stories and more as the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22 continues.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
People ask me all the time, does Lowry & Associates really get all of those clients, all of those big settlements? Yes, we do. And you know what else is true? I really am standing on top of this big truck.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota.
Awesome.
I like it. I love it.
Now, from the longest-lasting brand, you could get an affordable $299 a month lease on a ruggedly refined Tacoma with a total contract cost of $15,464.
Go from dreaming it to driving it today.
Toyota, let's go places.
Just stress sweating through my third set of scrubs. Totally normal, very healthy. I'm sure it's not a sign of emotional unraveling.
You need new Secret Clinical Antiperspirant, STAT. Secret gives 3 times more stress sweat protection.
Thanks. Got a bunch.
Secret, stay fresher under pressure.
Ooh, stuffed up again?
So congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Just Sinex? Breathe. What is... Wow. Sinex, breathe, ah.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
President Trump's top military advisors are considering using U.S. Navy ships to escort commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz as tensions with Iran continue to rise. Fox's chief national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin has the latest from Washington.
Flames engulfed a Thailand-flagged bulk carrier, forcing its crew to abandon ship after an Iranian projectile hit it near the Strait of Hormuz. A Greek bulk carrier and Japanese container ship also sustained minor damage as a result of Iranian projectiles.
Are you talking to CEOs of various oil companies, encouraging them to use the Strait of Hormuz? I think they should. I think they should.
President Trump urging oil companies to, quote, show some guts and send their tankers through the strait. The U.S. military has no plan in place to escort those ships, given the threat of Iranian mines, drones, and anti-ship missiles fired from shore. Iran also has submarines that can hide at the bottom of the seabed near the 2-mile opening. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs was cautious when asked whether President Trump ordered the U.S. Navy to escort tankers through the strait.
If tasked to escort, we'll look at the range of options and what are the risks and how do we mitigate those risks.
Last night, CENTCOM announced it had blown up 16 Iranian mine-laying boats, but the Iranians can lay mines from any small craft. The 50 Iranian warships that CENTCOM has sunk were part of Iran's traditional navy, not among the small fast boats the IRGC uses to threaten the Strait of Hormuz.
If we start to bring our warships through right now, the Iranians still have the capability, not just at the coastal area, which we can eliminate, but hundreds of miles back. We're likely not going to begin that task of escorting tankers through until that threat is removed.
In the 80s, during the tanker wars, when President Reagan ordered the U.S. Navy to escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, there was no threat of drones or anti-ship missiles, only mines. Now it is much more complex. In Washington, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
Some of the wealthiest nations in the world are taking steps to offset growing concerns over the economic impact of the war in Iran, many agreeing to dip into their oil reserves to stabilize the energy market. This includes the U.S. after an announcement by the Trump administration late Wednesday. Fox's Kevin Cork has that story.
From small towns in Ohio.
I don't want to see the economy crash, but it'd be nice if the price of everything went down.
To picturesque cities in Western Germany,
Concern is growing over surging oil and gas prices due to the ongoing war in Iran.
Very noticeable and naturally leaves a bitter aftertaste for all of us.
To counter those fears, the International Energy Agency announced its members will pool together to release 400 million barrels of oil from its emergency energy reserves, the largest release ever made by the agency in its history.
To give you an idea, these 400 million barrels represent about 20 days of oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz.
As part of its membership, the U.S. has agreed to contribute 172 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The president says that will substantially reduce oil prices as the U.S. and Israel continue their bombardment of Iran.
Doing it very quickly, and then we'll fill it up. We'll fill up our reserves.
This release comes as the world's most important oil route, the Strait of Hormuz, remains effectively closed for business, with Iran threatening any ship belonging to the U.S., Israel, or its allies. Reports of mines in the water also slowing traffic to a virtual stop, though the president says U.S. forces have taken out dozens of Iranian ships capable of laying down those weapons. According to the Energy Department, the U.S. will begin releasing oil reserves sometime next week. In Washington, Kevin Cork, Fox News.
Well, rising gas prices are nothing new to Californians. As costs continue to climb across the nation, the state's governor says the Iran conflict and big oil companies are to blame. Fox's William Lajeunesse has more from Los Angeles.
You have been fleeced by the oil companies. You have been screwed for decades and decades by the oil companies.
For years, Governor Gavin Newsom blamed oil companies for California's high gas prices. Today, he says the culprit is President Trump.
You'll be paying more because of Trump's war.
What Newsom doesn't say, California's gas taxes and fees are more than double the national average. Also, 30 years ago, 95% of California's oil was domestic, most from here and Alaska. Today, however, California gets more than 60% of its oil from overseas, by tanker, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Brazil. And that makes California more susceptible to disruption. Also, it's not green. According to studies, domestic crude is cleaner, generating 20 to 50% fewer methane emissions.
California is the most energy-dependent state in America. 63% of their oil gets imported.
That's not by accident. California's climate agenda forced companies to close refineries from 42 decades ago to just 8 today. California now imports gasoline from Asia, raising prices according to Chevron.
The lawmakers in California have decided that they don't want critical infrastructure like refineries. They've been working to put us out of business for 20 years.
Newsom claims it doesn't matter where the oil comes from because everyone pays a world price. He also says repealing the state's record high gas tax would not reduce prices because, in his words, big oil would not allow, quote, a single cent to be passed on to consumers. In Los Angeles, William Lajeunesse, Fox News.
President Trump takes his midterm message on the road to Kentucky as the Iran war threatens to put a weight on the economy, which is believed to be the most crucial issue to voters. Fox's Caroline Elliott reports.
We have to win. The midterms are going to be very, very important to keep it going.
President Trump rallying voters Wednesday in Kentucky with a harsh warning.
They want to raise your taxes higher than you've ever had before.
And like any election year, Republicans and Democrats can't agree on much, but both parties do agree the focus should be on the economy.
That is really what is important to a lot of Americans. It's pocketbook issues.
This president promised affordability, and he promised no wars. I think the American people will draw their own conclusions.
But the latest Fox News poll shows voters still think things are too expensive. Compared to a year ago, 81% believe grocery prices have gone up, and the majority also said the cost is up for utilities, healthcare, housing, and now gas.
Costs are going up for many reasons, but including because of this war of choice that the president has decided on his own to wage.
Democrats say when it comes to the cost to fill your tank, President Trump is to blame. But Trump described the hike in prices as short-term and said the conflict in Iran had to be done.
We'll be back on track in a pretty short while. Prices are coming down very substantially. Oil will be coming down. That's just a matter of war.
President Trump said Wednesday he would tap emergency crude oil reserves to help bring down the cost. In New York, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, we'll have more of your national headlines.
It's the new season of Next Level Chef, and the competition is more chaotic than ever.
That's crazy.
Next Level Chef, all new Thursdays on Fox.
Since 1914, Lamy Wellahan has provided trusted expertise to help your footwear fit right every time, from work to weekend. Find the brands and styles you love in-store or online. Lamy Wellahan, locally owned, proudly Maine.
Get 0% APR for up to 48 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days on the purchase of a new 2026 Sportage.
Bob's is bringing the wow back. You can wait for a sale price, or you can get wow-worthy prices every day at Bob's. Like this Play-Day sectional for just $7.99, delivered in days. Or this real marble dining set in 2 finishes. And with our everyday low prices plus flexible financing options, your tax refund goes further at Bob's.
And with tons of styles ready to ship and old furniture removal, you can get your furniture fast and easy.
Wow!
Oh, my Bob. Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
When the morning light hits Maine, start your day with Good Morning Maine. Craig Colson, Janessa Bishop, by your side, bringing the stories that matter statewide. Local news and the forecast ahead. Wake up informed, ready to go on ABC 7 and Fox 22.
Join us for the Lamy Wellahan Anniversary Sale. Take 20% off your total purchase March 13th through 15th. All your favorite brands and styles, expertly fit, locally owned and proudly Maine since 1914. Shop in store or online. Exclusions apply.
Diesel prices have been skyrocketing since the start of the Iran conflict. Back in the U.S., it could mean an added expense for farmers as they head into this year's growing season. Fox's Asher Red reports from Tennessee, where some farmers will have to fit these higher fuel prices into their budgets.
Farmers already work on notoriously tight profit margins, sometimes only making a few cents for a bushel of their crops. And these high gas prices are only adding another layer to that pain.
On diesel, we probably burn about 500 gallons a day in planting season.
Planting season simply wouldn't be possible without diesel fuel. And with energy prices surging ever since the U.S. started striking Iran, farmers like Will Hutchinson say the timing couldn't be worse.
It's kind of caught us off guard a little bit.
About 20% of the world's oil supply passes through the Strait of Hormuz off Iran's coast, and the Iranian regime has been threatening to attack any vessel that tries to cross. So with all those oil shipments at a standstill for now, some farmers are relying on what's already in storage.
It really helps, gives us some elasticity in times like this. If we don't get some resolution here in the next few months, we'll burn through that buffer that we have here.
Hutchinson stores about 20,000 gallons of diesel and 6,000 gallons of LP fuel like propane, which doesn't last long during peak season.
We probably burn about 1,500 gallons a day in diesel, and then also at harvest we'll burn about 5,000 gallons of LP a day.
AAA says a gallon of diesel cost about $3.63 this time last year. Analysts say gas prices could keep climbing for several weeks, even if the Iran conflict ends soon.
The big question is how high they could go, and we just don't know. It depends on how long the conflict drags on, how long the bottleneck in the Strait of Hormuz winds up becoming.
But Hutchinson says he's been through this before and believes that one bad season doesn't ruin long-term success.
If you think about it like a roller coaster, which it very much is, we get to ride in the front row.
The Energy Information Administration says crude oil made up more than 3/4 of our petroleum imports in 2023. And a lot of farmers I've been speaking with tell me that's another perfect example of why the U.S. should strive to be more energy independent. In Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Asher Red, Fox News.
The Iranian soccer team left Australia without 6 of its squad members. 7 were originally meant to stay behind after Australia granted them asylum after they escaped from team personnel. Australian officials are now saying the 7th member changed her mind after talking to team members. Fox's Kevin Uretsky has the story.
Activists say this is video of Iran's soccer team personnel running down a stairwell of a hotel in Australia looking for 5 players who escaped seeking asylum.
It looks like the IRGC figured out what we're trying to do.
In total, 6 Iranian women's soccer members have been granted asylum in Australia. 5 are athletes, and the 6th is a team staff member. A 7th woman changed her mind at the last minute.
In Australia, people are able to change their mind, people are able to travel. And so we respect the context in which she has made that decision.
Those who left are now in Malaysia waiting for transport back to Iran. According to activists, most, if not all of those players would have stayed, but may have feared what would happen to loved ones back home.
These women got back on that plane for their family. They know their family is at risk. They know that they are not safe.
Activists say efforts to get the players asylum allegedly began a year ago. Plans escalated after the women faced threats after choosing not to salute or sing during the Iranian national anthem at their first Asian Cup soccer game last week.
When they refused to sing to that national anthem, they were telling the regime, I do not represent you.
Iranian officials have dismissed claims the women will not be safe if they return home. But this week announced its men's team will not be participating in the upcoming World Cup games as the U.S. continues its war with Iran. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
Folks, just ahead, we have your full 5-day forecast. Stay tuned.
Rain, go away. We're still looking at rain showers throughout much of tonight into tomorrow as well, as we'll briefly touch the 50s, but we got even more chances for heavy rain in the forecast. When exactly is that going to arrive? Because we may see some snow as well. We'll have those answers coming right up.
There's a lot to love at the all-new Quirk Subaru in Bangor. Lease 2026 Crosstrek for $299 per month or save $3,500 on the Subaru Forester. New building, better deals. It's your Subaru. Find it at Quirk, Hogan Road, Bangor.
Poor insulation is the origin of your heating and cooling complications. We are Dr. Energy Saver by TC Hafford Basement Systems. We are the local energy saving experts. We identify the problem areas and provide customized solutions that leave your home comfortable and your energy bills affordable. Whether it's a drafty attic or poorly sealed ductwork, we have your back and more. Financing is available. For a no-cost, no-obligation estimate, call Dr. Energy Saver by TC Hafford Basement Systems. We fix uncomfortable homes.
A sharp pain in his chest. He knew it was his heart, but 2 hours from the big city hospital could tragically mean the end. But it wasn't. Thanks to Senator Susan Collins' tireless fight for Maine's rural hospitals. Because of Senator Collins' work, his local hospital had recently received up-to-date diagnostic equipment and upgraded facilities. all paid for with new federal funding. Lives are being saved. Call and thank our Senator Susan Collins for delivering this lifeline for Maine.
From the heart of Maine, where rugged beauty meets timeless craftsmanship, Richard Henderson & Sons Masonry, taming the outdoors through groundwork, retaining walls and seawalls, building custom fireplaces that become the centerpiece of your home, crafting granite steps and patios that invite you outdoors, designing hardscapes that turn yards into living spaces, built to last, crafted for life. Richard Henderson & Sons Masonry, quality in every stone.
It's Ram Truck Month at Quirk Ram in Bangor. Ram Bighorn is a winter powerhouse leased for $475 a month. First payment only due at signing. Or get elite performance with Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited leased for $439 a month. It's your Ram, it's your Jeep. Find it at Quirk.
I shall now train you in the art of the net gun.
Gotcha.
All new Animal Control, Thursdays on Fox.
Thank you very much. Your Maine weather tonight is brought to you by Stone Artisans. For fast, beautiful countertops, trust Stone Artisans, your Maine stone supplier at 249-3040. All right, those highs today did reach into the low 40s, and that actually helped us out here in Bangor. That kept us away from the freezing rain that we saw just north of town in Millinock and Holton up into Presque Isle as of right now, while temperatures were a bit warmer along your coastline. Some areas reaching the upper 40s out there. But temperatures tonight are going to continue to warm up as well. So our lows right now, right around 35. We did dip a little bit this evening, but as we go into the early morning hours, we're looking to be right around the mid-50s here in Bangor, right? With the cloud cover, I got us forecasted right around 52, and those temperatures will not last long. The cold front's going to come in right after that, and into the evening hours for tomorrow, we could be back in the mid-30s with a few snow showers possible out there. But average highs this time of year right around 38, so we'll briefly be well above that for tomorrow, then falling back to normal. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, pretty close to average as well, with highs in the upper 30s and low 40s. A boost again Monday, bringing us back into the low 50s, but again, that is going to come with plenty of rain as well, and a cold front after that that'll cool us off, looking to be into the 20s for your Wednesday, just about 10 degrees below average then. So winds out there, especially along our coastline tonight, are picking up. We can see some gusts getting close to 40 miles per hour. Some of those gusts can make their way inland, right around 25 to 30 miles per hour gusts here near Bangor and Amherst. And as we continue on into tomorrow, the wind switch behind the cold front. Not as strong, but we could see some wind gusts up to 20 to maybe 30 miles per hour. The more north you go, the better chance you have of seeing that stronger wind, but of along your coastline as well into tomorrow evening, still looking at gusts near 20 to 25 miles per hour. So for tonight, we've had on and off breaks with these showers. We're going to see lots of showers into the morning hours as those temperatures continue to warm up. And you can see that stretching up north as well. Still some freezing rain potential, but a lot of the state will have warmed up by then for this rain to be or for this precipitation to be falling as purely rain. And then as we get throughout the afternoon, that cold front kind of wants to lag on the eastern side of the state. So still warm over here, but this is where on the other side of these rain showers where everything's going to be cooling off. And a few flurries cannot be ruled out in those areas. So don't be surprised if you see some snow showers with a high of 52 for tomorrow, right? So temperatures will fall with that cold front. You can see that still slowly moving off to the east. We'll be in the clear for tomorrow night. But as we get ready for Friday, we're going to see more increasing clouds and the chance for snow returns again for your Friday night into your Saturday. So here we are for tonight. We got that wintry mix transitioning over into rain. We've already hit our lows right around the mid-30s. Temperatures will continue to increase throughout the night. As we head into tomorrow, we can see highs near 52 degrees early in the morning, right around 6 to 8 a.m. That cold front comes through, and we get the chance for rain and snow tomorrow as temperatures fall, with winds possibly reaching gusts near to 30 miles per hour in some spots for tomorrow. So extended forecast does show we'll be in the clear for your Friday with increasing clouds, highs back near 40, but then we got chances for snow again Friday night, lingered into your Saturday with highs in the upper 30s. Can see a rain-snow mix once again, staying dry Sunday, but then again, here comes Monday, highs in the low 50s, but a good chance for some rain showers once again. Beth?
Chase, thank you so much. Folks, don't go anywhere. Sports is next.
Did you hear about SHIELD, that test for colon cancer?
No, what?
It's just a blood test.
No.
Exactly.
So I don't have to spend time doing all that other stuff?
Nope.
No.
Bring it back. No.
SHIELD is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved SHIELD from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
Hey,
Hanks Husqvarna is your trusted full-line Husqvarna dealer, offering you everything you need for your outdoor projects. From high-performance lawn tractors and zero-turn mowers to chainsaws, trimmers, battery-powered and powerful snowblowers, we have just what you need. Every piece of equipment is fully set up, serviced, and ready for use by our certified Husqvarna technician. And all sales are backed by our in-house Husqvarna warranty. For parts, service, or new equipment sales, make your way to Hanks Husqvarna in Carmel or Newport.
At Maine's #1 Kia dealer, Darlings Kia, you can't miss in 2026. Drive a brand new all-wheel drive Sportage for only $299 a month, or buy a new Kia SUV for under $20,000. Plus, every new Kia comes with our 10-year or 100,000-mile warranty. The best in the business. You can't miss this and more at Darlings Kia. The best cars, the best prices, and the best warranty. You'll do better at Darlings.
Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. We are the top source for screen printing, embroidery, branded merchandise, and direct-to-garment printing. With decades of experience, state-of-the-art equipment, and a commitment to excellence, why trust your apparel products with anyone else? And now, Brandywine Graphics can easily launch online stores for your school or organization. Simply design your products from brands like Eddie Bauer, Carhartt, and more. Share the link and we'll do the rest. Like we said, Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. Find out more at brandywinegraphics.com or at our Hamden location.
Start your weekend with a slam. We'll let it go. It's all going down on Fox College Hoops Friday.
Welcome back in, folks. We'll start tonight with big news out of Skowhegan as legendary Riverhawks field hockey coach Paula Dowdy has been let go by the school over her 44-year career. Dowdy helped lead the Riverhawks to 20 state championship titles, by far the most of any Maine head coach. There's no official reason as to why she was let go, and the school declined to comment on the matter. Staying local now, it's a big weekend coming up for the Maine hockey team as they prepare to take on the Boston College Eagles in the opening round of the Hockey East tournament. RMAC Sturm caught up with the Black Bears ahead of their win-or-go-home game on Friday.
So that's really what it is. It's all about us coming together, and like this week is just taking it one day at a time.
Playoff hockey is nothing new to the Maine Black Bears, who won the Hockey East and made a Frozen Four run last season. But after experiencing an up-and-down year in 2025 and 26, they are ready to reset and focus on one game at a time.
Even though we've been trying to focus on our own game as much as we can, there has been other results elsewhere that can affect us. But now it really comes down to one team versus the next. And one game elimination.
You know, we're just going to have to come with our best effort of the season. You know, you don't get any redos, you don't get a bad 5 minutes in the playoffs, because that's it.
Maine's first tournament matchup comes against Boston College on Friday. The Black Bears split the weekend series with the Eagles earlier this season, and head coach Ben Barr says the weekend's focus will be about cleaning up those mistakes.
And we made some really, really bad decisions when we didn't have the puck and just gave them full ice 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s, that kind of stuff. And they really feed off that because they're so dangerous in transition.
For us, it's going to be about being disciplined. There's going to be plays to be made out there, but sometimes it's going to be live to fight another day and get the puck in deep and don't give them easy offense.
One of the thrills of the Hockey East playoffs is the chance to play on the ice at TD Garden with a win in the opening round. And that possibility has been a huge motivator for the Black Bears.
Yeah, well, we were going down memory lane there with a few of us last week, talking about like just the Garden and what it means, and talking to the young guys and how insane it is when Maine plays there and we have 15,000+ Mainers down there. It's something like you can't even really put into words.
If we can find a way to play our best hockey for 60 minutes, I have no idea no doubt that we'll be back there.
Puck drop is at 7 p.m. on Friday night. In Orono, Max Sturm, ABC 7 in Fox 22 Sports.
To the NFL now, the new league year has officially opened at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. Boy, has it been crazy last couple days, and the biggest stories between Las Vegas and Baltimore. Tuesday night, the Baltimore Ravens have backed out of a trade agreement with Las Vegas for superstar edge rusher Max Crosby. The Raiders and Ravens had initially agreed to send Crosby in exchange for a 2026 and 2027 first-round pick. Reports have come out that Crosby failed his physical which was the cause of calling the trade off. It was well known by all teams involved in trade talks that Crosby had just undergone a meniscus repair surgery at the beginning of the year. Meanwhile, the Ravens have pivoted very fast and have signed former Bengals four-time Pro Bowl defensive end Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year deal worth $112 million. Multiple sources are saying that league execs are now weary of what Baltimore did and may now hesitate to trade with that team in the future. We head down to Boston now, where the Celtics are coming off a tough loss on Tuesday night. The C's fell at the hands of the San Antonio Spurs by a score of 125-116. Victor Wembanyama put up 39 points in the Spurs win and recorded 11 rebounds and 3 assists for the Celtics. Jason Tatum has shown he's coming back just as strong as last year, dropping 24 in his third game back. But the real story of Tuesday night's loss was the ejection of Jaylen Brown after receiving back-to-back technical fouls in the second quarter. Brown felt as though he was pushed out of bounds, and when it was not called, he became irate, which resulted in the chief official calling the technical and another official calling the second. When asked about it after the game, head coach Joe Mazzulla had a humorous response.
Just give a ton of credit to my high school principal. He had the balls to throw a student out. He didn't leave it to the hall monitor.
Joe's going to Joe. Staying in the NBA, but heading down to South Beach, where NBA history was made in the Miami Heat's game against Washington on a Tuesday night. In one of the most unexpected performances you'll ever see, Heat center Bam Adebayo put up 83 points in the team's game against the Wizards, surpassing Kobe Bryant's 81-point game to make him the second highest single-game scoring performance of all time, trailing only Wilt Chamberlain, who famously scored 100. Adebayo shot 46% from the field and knocked down 36 of 43 free throws to accomplish the feat, cementing himself in basketball history forever. After the game, Bam had a hard time trying to process the magnitude of the historic game.
It's a pretty emotional moment. Like I said, I wish I could relive it twice. So this is a special moment. It's Wilt, me, then Kobe, which sounds crazy.
Whole lot of free throws there. That's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
You heard it was a hit. You heard it was a smash. A wonder. A phenomenon. An international sensation. But you haven't heard them.
March 16 at the Cross Insurance Center. Get your tickets today.
Ready to create your backyard oasis? Alexander's Professional Landscaping will work with you to create your perfect outdoor space. Work one-on-one with our landscape designer to create a unique garden to fit your family's personal aesthetics and lifestyle. Have our pros install your new lawn, garden, or patio. Schedule a consultation today by calling 573-4497. Alexander's Professional Landscaping, the way landscaping should be.
I'm Jonathan Bush. I've made my career disrupting the status quo, creating jobs, and helping people achieve their American dream.
Jonathan Bush. He's a veteran, a conservative leader, and Maine job creator.
Maine needs big change. State spending is out of control. We need to audit Augusta, reduce waste, cut income and property taxes. I will shake up Augusta. I'm Jonathan Bush. I look forward to earning your vote.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
The spotlight hits Jerry's World for the biggest race party of the year. The Java House Grand Prix of Arlington, Sunday at 12:30 Eastern on Fox.
From vitamins and minerals to protein that helps build muscle, the foods we eat can do a lot to help keep our bodies properly functioning. But how nutritious is your diet? Fox's Kevin Uretsky takes a closer look at what registered dietitians are saying as the nation marks Nutrition Month all March long.
March is National Nutrition Month, a time the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics says is important for raising awareness about the benefits of a healthy diet. While registered dietitians like Dinah Dalder say a nutritious diet can look different across the country and even the world,
depending on what an individual likes to eat, what their cultural preferences are,
there's certain things you'll still want to make sure are on your menu,
including fruits and vegetables, dairy foods, protein, and grains. And how that combines and looks is really an individual preference.
Updated U.S. dietary guidelines by the Trump administration encourage people to eat fruits and vegetables throughout the day, prioritize protein, and incorporate healthy fats into their meals. This while limiting highly processed foods and items with added sugars.
We know consistently that people are not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, and if you look at your plate, are there even fruits and vegetables there?
Data from the CDC reveals more than half the country gets more than half their daily calories from ultra-processed foods. Experts recommend analyzing the foods you regularly eat and cite how consuming the same things can create nutritional gaps.
If you want to think about what would be an unhealthy diet, that might be a diet that lacks variety. And then what are those foods that are eaten consistently? Are they really high in fat?
Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
A Grammy-winning singer lands a major chart debut, and a Disney villain finds her star. Fox's Anna Eliopoulos has all of the latest in today's Hollywood Nation.
Let me just be very clear.
John Creasy returns, Mario heads to space, and Mars hits a high note in the Hollywood Nation. Bruno Mars sings his way to the top of the charts. His fourth solo album, The Romantic, lands at #1 on the Billboard 200, marking his first album to debut at the top spot. It's also his first chart-topping record in more than a decade, since Unorthodox Jukebox. Hey! Kathryn Hahn confirms she's playing Mother Gothel in Disney's live-action Tangled. Hahn revealed the casting in an Instagram post, taking on the villain first voiced by Donna Murphy in the 2010 animated film. With a lot of galaxies. Universal Pictures released a new trailer for the Super Mario Galaxy movie and announced Donald Glover as the voice of Yoshi. Chris Pratt, Charlie Day, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Jack Black reprised their roles from the 2023 original film. The sequel follows Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and their friends heading into space to face off with Bowser Jr. The animated adventure arrives in theaters April 1st.
This is my roommate, Celeste.
Roommate drama takes center stage in the new trailer for Netflix's Roommates. The comedy stars Sadie Sandler and Chloe East as college freshmen whose friendship quickly spirals into conflict. The film is co-produced by Adam Sandler and starts streaming April 17th.
Work.
Netflix also dropped the trailer for Man on Fire. Emmy winner Yahya Abdul-Mateen II leads as former elite mercenary John Creasy, a role previously played by Denzel Washington in the 2004 film. The action drama based on the best-selling book series follows Creasy as he battles PTSD while searching for redemption. The series premieres April 30th. Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
And that is going to do it for us, folks. From everyone here at Fox 22 News, take care and have a great rest of your night. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station ABC7 right now for ABC7 News at 11.
Next time, Fawn Weaver, the founder of Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey, returns to the tank.
I think you're incredible. You're an absolute genius, creative genius.
I want to work with you so badly.
This has never happened in Shark Tank history. Why would anybody buy this pain in the ass?
Don't fall asleep at the switch.
Hold on 1 second. Let me get there.
Silence, please. You are living the American dream.
You have no idea how crazy this thing is going.
The drama. Conan O'Brien and Matthew Fox on a new Jimmy Kimmel Live later.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
The Washington